What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Game Show presented by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-host, G-Man Jay. What's up, Jay?
What's happening? I'm excited for who we got joining us today. It's going to be a good one.
I'm excited, and I guess I should say as sometimes because it's not every Tuesday I get graced with your presence on the Fantasy Football Game
Show.
Show.
When you're lucky. When you're lucky. And today,
when I'm lucky.
You're lucky.
I think the guests drew you in. Guys, joining us today, we have two very special guests. First up, we've got Tommy Mo. You can find him on Twitter at 2on1FFB. He runs creative and content over at The Undroppables. Tommy, thank you so much for coming up with us today, my man.
Yeah, Simon, thank you so much for having me. Thanks to the whole Front Yard Fantasy team. I love coming on this show with you guys. Always a fun time, always a blast, and super excited to be back.
We are hyped to play some Fortune today. The only problem with today's show is I don't get to play Fortune against you guys. I got to run the damn game, but I'm jealous of Jay. Please beat him for me. Guys, also joining us today, we've got our friend Scott Rinear, a.k.a. Munder Difflin FF on Twitter. He creates content over at IBT Media and Fantasy Data NFL and puts out some of the most beautiful strength of schedule charts I've ever seen. Check him out on his Twitter. Scott, thanks so much for joining us today, my man.
Good to be here. You know how I feel. I love this show. It's been too long. I miss you guys, so I'm stoked. And it's cool to be on screen. Cool to be on a pod with Tommy.
Right.
Right,
Scott.
Right. Grim fan in here. What's up, Jay?
I was going to say, next time Scott just needs to say, you guys know how I feel, then just stop there.
I considered it. I did.
Let us fill in the blanks. We got some people in the chat ready for today's show. Grim fan coming in, starting us off hot with a question. Wants to know if Mike Williams comes back this week, does Josh Palmer still retain value as we head into our fantasy football playoffs? Tommy, I'll throw this one to you first. Heat check on Josh Palmer with Mike Williams' return supposedly coming sometime soon.
Yeah. No, I think it'd be great to have him back on the team. We love Mikey Dubs here at the Undroppables. But yeah, Josh Palmer, does he still have value? I think he does still have value. He's definitely a focal point of that offense as much as possible. He's definitely one of those guys that was going to come on hot this year. And as he's definitely taking the advantage of his opportunities that he's getting. But, with Mikey Dubs back, we'll definitely see those targets dip a little bit. And at this point in the season, I mean, if you're rolling with Josh Palmer, you probably need to start Josh Palmer. So, yeah, he definitely still holds some value, I would say, with Mikey back.
We got a question earlier on the morning show today. Who should I drop, Josh Palmer or Patterson? They needed to pick up a QB. And that one hurt my feelings for a little bit, but I ended up going Patterson as the player to drop because I do think Palmer holds a bit more value, like you were saying, Tommy. And a big reason for me is Mike Williams, as much as I love him for fantasy, I'm not going to believe that dude is back until I see him on the field and play a full game because we've seen it time and time again with him. He comes back, re-injures it. The dude plays aggressively. I don't think he has a 50% mode whenever he's on the field. It's 100% or nothing. So Josh Palmer, I'm holding on to just in case because if Mike Williams is out, the dude's a must start.
Yeah, it's literally 100% or nothing with Mikey Williams at times.
That's all he does over there. Scott, what do you think about Josh Palmer?
I agree. I think he still holds value. I have some personal experience with this a few weeks back in my home league, which I unfortunately am not going to probably make the playoffs. I was playing against kind of one of my rivals in the league, and it was the first game where Williams and Keenan Allen were back. And he started Josh Palmer. And I was like, oh, he must not be paying attention. Williams and Keenan are back. Ha, 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 ha. And then Palmer scored 2 touchdowns, the second of which put him ahead of me for the win. So yes, I still think Palmer has value, but I also agree. I mean, until I see Williams back, playing a normal snap share for a couple of games, I still think I think Palmer's earned it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got Dave in here. Toronto Dave said, Toonies for Goofies. Thank you so much, Dave. We appreciate it each and every time. I just appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us. Albert says, hello, everyone. What's up, Albert? Glad to have you in here, my friend. And we got Dave in the chat. What's up, Dave? Glad to have you in here. Our friend Ladarius stopping by. Hello, all. What's up, Ladarius? And our favorite chat cat, Mr. Scamper, said, hi, handsome gentleman. Well, hello to you, you handsome cat. JL in here with my boys. What's up, JL? And we got Dame, as always, down here hanging out with us. What's up, Dame? Always a treat to have you in here hanging out with us. JL saying, Tommy, Scott, My guys. So I guess JL and I are the boys. You guys are the guys.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here with you guys, but I do miss JL. I'm not gonna lie. I love that guy. He's fantastic.
I like him.
Make fun of us.
I like him. He's cool whenever he's around. Pretty cool guy. And Dave, I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming. He said, shout out Josh Palmer from the Toronto area. You have gotten a lot of work out of that this year, Dave, because Josh Palmer has been very fantasy relevant. We've said his name way more times than I thought we were going to this year. So Dave coming in here with a horror story. Said, I lost last night when Rachaad White scored a touchdown with 3 seconds remaining.
So did
Dave,
I.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of people felt that pain yesterday
Rough.
with that last second touchdown. I was thinking about like even more brutal. If you were facing Brady and we're up, like that whole game, you had to be feeling good, right? The entire game. And then with 3 minutes left, he just beat you. Like 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter of the last game of week 13, a playoff crucial week.
I feel like
Tom
I've taken
Brady
a lot of
comes
those
up.
beats this
Here's
year.
how
Like,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
and I was doing something last night, so I missed the tail end of the game, like, which I didn't think was that big of a deal based on how that game was going. And I saw that Tampa Bay had won and scored, and I was just like, oh, as long as it wasn't Rachaad White. Anybody
Of course, it's
but
Rachaad
Rachaad White.
Of course.
Imagine somebody out there like,
And it was a league where I played the Ravens DST over the Cowboys. The Cowboys scored like 25.
So
Yeah,
has to
you
see
know,
somebody
woulda,
out there who lost.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda haunts us every week.
Played
every
Tom
time.
Brady and Rachaad White, and imagine up by like 10 points or something like that, and that's the only way possible a receiving touchdown for Rachaad White.
got it done. Man, I love fantasy sports.
It's
I
so much
love it,
fun.
and boy, do I hate it. I hate it sometimes.
The pain
Guys-
makes the happiness that much sweeter, though. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
It does. Without the lows, you can't have those just absolute highs. If Alvin Kamara scored 6 touchdowns in your championship game every single year for you, you wouldn't feel the pain when Rachaad White beat you at the last second.
Mhm.
who?
Who?
Who were you talking about just now?
Kamara.
I was talking about the Kamara game a couple years
Last
ago.
year,
whenever
yeah.
you just-
Was that last year?
Or
2
was
years
that last
ago?
year or 2 years ago? I can't
I remember
remember.
making a
that-
TikTok about it because that was a bad beat. Like coming in hard, 6 touchdowns. Like that was memorable.
That one hurt.
Kamara, is he a rookie this year? Who is he?
He's okay.
I'm
he's
doing this
some,
joke because he sucks.
he's some 4th round pick that's on the New Orleans Saints, I think.
Well, that's what we're talking about like years ago at this point.
Trying to beat out Mark Ingram, but we'll see if he can do it. I'm not sure he's got the stuff to take that role from him.
I mean,
Guys,
he couldn't
today-
hack it at Alabama, so
We brought Tommy and Scott here today to play a game we call Fantasy Fortune. It is a lot like the popular TV show Wheel of Fortune. But before we get into that, a couple reminders. First and foremost, if you aren't already following our guests, remedy that right this instance. You can
Right
find
now.
Tommy on Twitter at 2on1FFB right there below his handsome face. And then below the other handsome face on the screen, Scott's, you can find his Twitter handle. That's at MunderDiflinFF. Truly, 2 of the best follows in this space. So make sure you guys go over there and hit that follow button if you haven't done so already. And if you have done so and you followed my instructions to hit that button, hit it again because you just unfollowed them.
Right.
We don't want that to happen. After you do that, if you're watching this video and you enjoy what we do over here, go ahead and hit that like button for us and make sure you're subscribed to our channel at Front Yard Fantasy. Easiest way to show your support for what we're doing and to make sure you don't miss out on any of the stuff that we're putting out or any of our live shows. With that being said, I'm going to pull this game board up, explain how this goes, and then we are going to get started. The game is Fantasy Fortune, and it plays a lot like Wheel of Fortune if you've ever watched that show, except instead of spinning the wheel, contestants are going to be answering 50-50 NFL or fantasy-related trivia questions. Get the question right, you get to guess a consonant that you think is in that puzzle. For every instance of the consonant that shows up, you're going to add $500 to your round bank. Now, you can do this up to 3 times in a row if you keep on getting the question right and the letter right. But after that 3rd turn, you will bank all of the money that you've earned. You've got 5 seconds to solve, or we are moving on to the next contestant. So you can earn money without solving the puzzle. You just got to be good at trivia and good at guessing letters. During your turn, there are 2 other actions you can take besides answering a question. You can choose to buy a vowel at any time except after a question has been asked. Vowels cost $100 per instance they show up to a max of $500 for 5 vowels. Anything more than that, we're just going to charge you $500. But you will need a minimum of $500 in your round bank in order to buy a vowel to make sure you can cover the cost of them. You can also choose to solve the puzzle at any point during your turn,
I'd like to
except
solve.
after a question has been asked. or before a puzzle's been put up on the board. I didn't know that rule needed to be added, but now it is part of the official rules, Jay. If you get the puzzle right, you are going to earn a minimum of $1,000 into your total bank. So that is not 1,000 plus whatever you have in your round bank. It's just a minimum of 1,000. So if you've got 2,500 in there and you solve, you're going to bank that 2,500. If you've got 500 in there and you solve, you're going to bank 1,000 just to get that minimum of 1,000 in there. We will go like this until we run out of puzzles or run out of time, at which point the contestant with the most money will be our Fantasy Fortune champion. And just send us your fax number and we'll send you over some Kohl's cash as your winnings right after.
Grimace Coin. We've also recently added Grimace Coin to the.
Have you guys ever run out of puzzles?
No, I don't think so. We've gotten to the last puzzle, but I think we've stretched out the last puzzle. Usually I come in with a couple extras just in case. But you know what? Anything can happen, right?
I'm just curious.
Also, Dave in here saying Kamara, never heard of him. And Grim Fan said Kamara is irrelevant this year. Scott, you're the one who brought it up. Do you have any hope that Kamara is going to turn it around this year, or is he a lost cause for fantasy?
I mean, I'm leaning towards lost cause at this point. I mean, he's Kamara, so like, it's almost. My good friend Dave Cruiser tweeted out earlier today. It's almost kind of nice Kamara's on bye because you just don't have to worry about making that decision. And sadly that's where it's at. I've got him on a few teams, and it's just I play him, and I actually in a guillotine league I did not play him. Who did I play over him? I think I played Damian Pierce over him. But that's where it's at. It's just not happening. That offense with Andy Dalton at quarterback just isn't doing anything. So, and then just Taysom Hill just keeps showing up. You know what I mean?
Please don't get Simon started on Taysom Hill. We'll never check out
Jay, I have moved into the acceptance stage of my Taysom Hill relationship here. I'm no longer angry about it. I'm never going to predict it, and I'm done cheering against it. It's fun. Taysom Hill's fun.
I lost
my fantasy teams.
I lost a dynasty game this week because of Taysom Hill.
God,
and he angers back.
I am in the running for the 101. So wasn't sad about the loss.
But you're right, Scott. Like, it's almost better that Kamara's on a bye because, like, if you have him, you want to
how do you want to start bench him?
Right.
So, I mean, the play was really just to avoid drafting him all year. Like that, you would have been fine there. But
man, the people not drafting Kamara because of the potential suspension ended up getting lucky, right?
Yeah.
That they avoided drafting him because it wasn't the suspension that derailed his season.
He was definitely somebody I took in a few leagues where, looking back, that's where I should have gone with a wide receiver where I took him. But I got lured in by the full PPR format with, you know what I mean? I thought Jameis Winston was going to be the QB all year too. So
I will say
we got rifled instead.
The next two matchups, Atlanta and Cleveland. If he's going to have a bounce back, those are the two teams to do it against. As a running back. So
and in the fantasy playoffs, which would be great.
Right, yeah, and then he'll be a playoff hero, and everybody will reach for him next year in drafts and start the cycle all over.
At the end of the day, with those two matchups, like coming off his bye, I'm starting him. You know what I mean? It's just.
It sucks.
It's nerve-wracking now.
It sucks.
Yesterday
on the broadcast, the announcer said something where, like, just completely out of context. I'm imagining if you aren't a sports fan and you heard them say, the Red Rifle loves his horned frogs. They said that. I was just like, what a bizarre sentence that I just accepted. Know what I mean? Like, I was just like, yeah, of course he does. Like, he freaking loves his horned frogs. But if you take that completely out of context, it's like, what the hell are they talking about? Those are my favorite moments. Guys, we're going to get into our game of Fantasy Fortune. Remember all the rules I just told you about how these puzzles work?
Nope.
Well, throw them out the window for this first one because it is going to be a toss-up puzzle. How this is going to work is, instead of taking turns or answering questions, I am going to just start revealing letters in this puzzle. It is the name of an NFL player. When you think you know it, say your name. Whoever's name I hear first will get to take a guess at this. Get it right, you're going to add $500, and you will get to go first in the first real round of this game. You guys ready?
Are there penalties for incorrect answers? Or
that's a great question. If you guess wrong, you're not allowed to guess again on the toss-up puzzle. So Once you guess, you're out for the rest of that round. Now, in the normal puzzles, if you guess and you're wrong, we just move on to the next contestant. It can always come back to you. But here in the toss-up, one guess and then you're done. You guys ready?
Yes.
Ready.
I'm going to start revealing letters. Buzz in whenever you think you know it.
Jay.
Yes, Jay. Who is this?
Rashad White.
Damn.
This is Rashad White. Jay, you are absolutely correct. Nice job on that one, my friend. Going to earn you $500. Angel gets to go first in the next round. Before we move on to that puzzle, though, Rashad White keeps on doing it. Had himself another game yesterday. That touchdown at the end kind of saved it, but with the receiving work he's getting, he seems to be relatively safe for fantasy. Jay, with Fournette back in the mix here, how are you viewing Rashad White rest of season?
I feel like it's his backfield, to be honest with you. You know, Fournette was back, and he still put up pretty solid numbers. You would think that Leonard Fournette would potentially get the passing down work, but Rashad White was involved there as well. And as bad as this offensive line is banged up, there's going to be a lot of times where Tom Brady's going to have to check the ball down. And, I mean, he obviously trusts him because he went to him in the most important 3 seconds of the entire game. So I think Rashad White is an every week start from here on out.
Tommy, do you agree with Jay's take there on Rashad White being an every week start?
Yeah, absolutely. I think ideally in the flex, if
definitely.
he's your RB2, I'm a little concerned, and hopefully you're not in that situation. But at this point in this season, you might be with all the injuries and everything else going on. But yeah, we've been on, God, as a team, the Undroppables has been on Rashad White since last year, and so we're all about it. We've been waiting for him to get this opportunity, and yeah, he's taking the bull by the horns and running with it. And everything with Tom Brady is built on trust with his running backs. We saw that with James White, and so he's starting to build that trust. It's starting to develop, and you're just like Jay said, at the most important time in the game, that's who we turn to.
Absolutely.
James White actually tweeted out at Rashad White. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
I did.
He tweeted out, said that's my cousin or something, like joking around.
Turns out we might be related or something like that. Yeah. James White showing his support for Rashad White. We had some more questions come in here. Grim fan with his weekly Survivor League question, which Grim, every time you bring it up, I want to applaud you for being alive in week 14 of a Survivor League. I am
talent.
That is 12 weeks further than I've ever made it. And Grim wanted to know, he's considering the Bucks this week. So the Bucks are playing against the 49ers or the Tennessee Titans playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tommy, which way would you be rolling here in a Survivor League? Which matchup do you prefer?
Man, I think with my gut, I'm going to go with the Titans. I think that's a better matchup. I have a hard time really banking on the Bucks. I think it's a little tough. So I would roll with the Titans here this week against the Jags. The Jags are playing really well, but it's December, and Derrick Henry in December is phenomenal. So I'm gonna go bank on that one.
Scott, are you siding with Tommy here? Would you roll the Bucks out against these Brock Purdy led 49ers?
Yeah, I'm going with the Titans as well. I mean, I'm nervous about either of these, but if you're this far in a Survivor Challenge, you're going to be nervous about who you play. But I mean, if Garoppolo hadn't gotten hurt, this wouldn't even be a question. He did get hurt, but I just don't think it brings the 49ers down all that much.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to defeat the Dolphins with Brock Purdy under center. So absolutely, I think he hit the nail on the head.
So with that defense, I'm going with the Titans.
George Cook in here had a question for us. Want to know, how concerned should I be about both Kenneth Walker and Jamal Williams? Kenneth Walker's injury and Jamal Williams being outsnapped and outtouched by Swift substantially. They've both carried me this season. So let's start with Kenneth Walker. Scott, you've got boots on the ground there in Seattle, being a Seahawks fan. Any whisperings about Kenneth Walker's injury?
Not anything super specific. The rumblings are it's not serious. What Pete Carroll said was he jammed his ankle. So that's kind of Pete Carroll-y, like, just
how do you jam?
Kind of saying
stuff.
Jam
a pinky,
right,
you don't jam a
exactly. I got jammed my leg.
Like 20 bones in there to jam.
Yeah, I know. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I mean, it was concerning that he came out and was ruled out pretty quickly after he came out. But there has not been any news that dropped that there's any kind of diagnosed serious injury that's going to keep him out. I doubt he's ready this week, I mean, again, I don't have a lot of medical knowledge around a
Yeah.
jammed ankle, but
it's
Nobody
more,
knows
of
because
a,
it's made
more of a
up.
wait and see situation. But the lack of
I think
glaring bad
I think it's the
news.
wait and see. I mean, DJ Dallas, his name comes right back up as it does once in a while, because he'll likely lead the backfield in touches if Ken Walker can't go.
I mean,
Absolutely.
if
he's
he's
healthy.
healthy, like
At one point they
backfield
didn't.
is hurt.
DJ Dallas had the D next to his name for doubtful, and they put him back in because they didn't have any healthy running backs.
They
So-
signed
There was another guy too, right? Wasn't like a third stringer that got hurt as well?
Travis
Tony
Homer
Jones
got hurt,
Jr.,
Right.
former Saints backup. Yeah.
and that guy. There's like 4 of them. I'm like looking who to pick up because I have Kenneth Walker in one league, and like they're all hurt. Like the
Right.
entire backfield's hurt right now. So it's wait till Wednesday at the injury report, and hopefully someone's gonna. I mean, they ought to put somebody there, but hopefully
They
it's
do,
one of-
because even if they
four
have
guys.
0 running backs, Pete Carroll will still run 50% of the time.
he'll find a way. Yeah, he will find a way.
We had the other half of this question about Jamal Williams here. Yeah, I think this is what you're going to see if Swift is healthy. Swift is the starting running back for the Detroit Lions. He's been not healthy. Now that he's healthy, I think he's going to continue to outsnap and outtouch Jamal Williams. That being said, I think Williams is still borderline in every week start because of the red zone and goal line carries that he gets. I think I saw a stat. I wish I could quote the tweet, give credit, but the dude has 8 carries on the 1 yard line or something preposterous like that. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift have just been gifting him, like hand wrapping 1 yard touchdowns for him all year. I know our friend Coop has been bringing that up, saying that DeAndre Swift has just been carrying the water down the field for Jamal Williams all season long, but that's his role.
Well, they
I think it's
also
gonna continue.
the Lions have a really good rest of season schedule for running backs. So, I mean, I think they're both going to be relevant. I just think Swift, I think with Swift, it's just he got hurt and he's been coming back from that, and now I think he's close to healthy. So you're going to see a lot more of him, as you should.
And to the question, I think the bigger concern is Kenny Walker's injury, because you weren't starting Jamal Williams because he was going to outtouch DeAndre Swift. You weren't starting him because he was getting the lion's share of the carries. You're starting him because he's getting touchdowns. This is LeGarrette Blount in 2018 all over again as a touchdown machine. That's why he's in the game in your starting roster. I mean,
100%.
Yeah, agreed.
Dave in here saying, who doesn't love a good horned frog? Am I right? It is one of the top tier
Ew.
mascots in sports. And Albert letting us know the Seahawks just signed Wayne Gallman to their practice
There it
squad.
is.
Fun fact, Wayne Gallman is, I think, the man that my girlfriend is most attracted to in the entire world. Every time he comes up on the screen, she just can't help herself but say, oh my God, he's so
Really?
handsome. She's like, he's so handsome.
That's
Wayne
the most
Gallman is
random person.
Yeah, it's a random player.
We did go to Clemson, so it makes it a little bit less weird, right? So we had more Wayne Gallman exposure where we saw his face a lot more. But
Oh God, like Jacoby Ford, like I don't know. There's so many more attractive Clemson players. Like,
Right?
Trevor Lawrence, even. I mean, come on.
Wayne Gallman just does it for her, I guess. So you can't even say his name without her being like, God, he's so handsome.
That's
It's
She's probably the only person in this world.
So
Well,
if you guys
not
have
even
like
his
a
wife.
list, if you guys have like a celebrity list, is he on her list then? Like she gets a pass
without-
for Wayne Gallman if that happens?
Without a doubt, Wayne Gallman's on her list. Like, I don't know if I've approved any such list, but if there's one that exists for her, Wayne Gallman's on it.
I'm,
kinda like-
I'm looking at him right now, and I don't know, dude. I don't see it, but
It's got like the handsome Squidward type of handsome, where like
This
it's
is
very
my- yeah.
chiseled and symmetrical.
This is my favorite reveal of the week so far.
Grim fan in here wanted to know, are the Cardinals defense a good play this week, or should I go with the Steelers? So the Cardinals are playing the New England Patriots on Monday night, and the Steelers playing against the Ravens. Jay, which one of those two defenses would you be going with? Sorry, Tom.
You want to go ahead, Tommy?
no, it's okay. I want to hear what you say.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Steelers. Anybody that's got TJ Watt on their team, it's okay with me, especially with a banged up Lamar Jackson who's likely not going to play. And even if he was, the Ravens offense hasn't looked good lately. Minka Fitzpatrick has really looked good as of late. I'm going with the Steelers here.
What about you, Tommy?
So the only reason I've been rolling with with the Cardinals and for a lot of the season is because, and I need to update this stat. I need to check it for last week. But up to last week, they had a turnover in all of their games except for one game. So every single game they're getting a turnover, and that's getting you extra points. And so if you're in a league that doesn't reward a lot of points to points, like the defensive scoring points, but you're getting extra points for those turnovers. There's our Arizona Cardinals are actually a good defense to play and stream throughout the year, and they've been great for me. I've been rolling with the Cardinals and the Eagles all season long, just kind of interchanging them based on matchup. But yeah, they get turnovers, either a pick or a fumble almost every single week, and sacks too. So.
And those turnovers are like gold in DST scoring. Absolutely. Guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next puzzle. Make sure we got time to get through a couple of these. I'm going to pull this one up. Puzzle number 2. The category is rhyme time. Jay is going to go first on this one since he correctly solved the puzzle. But for those of you who have not played this category before, it will be something along the lines of playing clarinet with Jacoby Brissett. That's been one in the past. Drinking soda with Marcus Mariota has been another one. So following
or Baby
that
Yoda.
pattern,
I mean, that works.
or
too.
Baby Yoda, that one's in there as well. So that's the pattern. That's all you're going to get here. Jay, you ready for your first question?
Let's go with it.
And a reminder to our contestants, make sure you guys are in the private chat, not in the comments. Because everyone in the chat, I want you guys to play along. If you think you know the answer, throw it in the chat. And if you beat our hosts to it or our
They're
contestants,
generally a lot smarter than we are.
they are. And if you beat our contestants, we will shout you out. And if you're very wrong, we'll mock you relentlessly, but it's all part of the fun. Jay, you ready to kick this off?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Here is your first question. Who scored more PPR fantasy points in week 13? So who scored more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Tyler Lockett or was it Keenan Allen?
Ooh, that's a good one. No, they both scored touchdowns. I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett is correct. The number 5 PPR wide receiver on the week. Jay, which letter would you like?
Let's go with an R.
An R. There is one R in this puzzle. Going to add 500 to your round bank.
Watch out.
Now the decision is yours. Would you like another question? Would you like to solve this puzzle or would you like to buy a vowel?
Let's go with another question.
Okay. Who has more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Najee Harris or was it Leonard Fournette?
Najee Harris.
I'm sorry, Jay. It was Leonard Fournette, the RB16 on the week. Najee Harris,
Really?
RB25.
I guess
Solid.
I'm just blinded by that stiff arm from Najee Harris.
Yeah. In a point per stiff arm league, then you probably get a
Right.
little
And
boost for
yeah,
Najee.
I always
Lenny
default
got
to
those-
points per stiff arm, so that's just
Lenny got those catches.
He got those catches. Tommy, that means we are moving on. Or no, it's Scott's turn. I apologize. We got to follow the order listed down there. Scott, we are moving
there we
on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle?
I'd like a question, please.
Okay. My question for you, Scott, is who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Jamar Chase or was it Christian Watson?
Watson.
It was Christian Watson, the touchdown machine.
Oh, boy.
Which letter would you like, Scott?
W.
A W. There is one W in this puzzle, an unconventional first letter, but it worked out for you. What would you like to do now? Would you like to buy a vowel? Would you like another question or would you like to solve?
Pretty conventional middle word, though. Another question.
Yeah, I guess maybe you could sense a pattern there. Here is your next question. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Jonathan Taylor or was it Cam Akers?
Gross. Cam Akers.
Cam Akers is correct. The number 8 PPR running back on the week. Which letter would you like, Scott?
T.
A T. There's one T in this puzzle. Going to add another 500. Scott, this will be your last opportunity to buy vowels this turn if you would like to do so, or we can roll into your final question.
Let's
Or you
go
can
into my
solve.
final question.
Okay, here we go. Your final question. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Noah Fant or was it TJ Hawkinson?
Oh. I don't know the answer to this one. I'm going to guess Hawkinson.
I'm sorry. Noah Fant was the number 3 PPR tight end on the week.
But it was
Tight
a
ends this
rough
week.
week for tight end.
Oh, it was a doozy of a week
A
for tight
rough
end. It was
year
nasty.
for-
Noah
exactly.
Fant being number 3 on the week says it all.
Yeah, and you probably don't even want to know who the rest of the top 10 are. There's some
I think
unfamiliar
Kate
names
Otten
up
was
there.
number 1.
I know
wasn't
number
it?
1 was Kate Otten at like
Yeah.
14.8, which was like,
That's a pretty uninspiring score for the number 1 overall tight end on the week. Tommy, That means we are on to you. There's some letters on the board for you. Would you like to solve this puzzle, or do you want your first question?
I mean, I know one word, but I'll take a question.
Okay, my question for you is, who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points? Was it AJ Brown or was it Justin Jefferson?
Was it AJ Brown?
It was AJ Brown, the number 3 wide receiver on the week. Tommy, which letter would you like?
I'll do a H.
An H. There's one H in this puzzle. Going to add 500. I see your strategy. I might have to mix up the wording on these next time.
Or
Tommy,
just don't put any W's, T's, or H's in the rest. Like,
Tommy, do you want another question, or do you want to solve this puzzle?
I'll take another question, please.
Okay, another question. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Josh Jacobs or was it Ramondre Stevenson?
I have to go with my boy Josh Jacobs, right?
And it was your boy Josh Jacobs. That's absolutely correct. Which letter would you like, Tommy?
I'll do an S.
An S. There are
There we
3
go.
S's. Some money showing up now. So, Tommy, that is 2 correct. This will be your last opportunity to buy a vowel this turn, if you would like to do so, or we can roll into your final question.
I'll do the final question.
Okay, here we go. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Travis Kelce or was it Evan Ingram?
God, I feel like it was Evan Ingram.
Final answer?
Yeah, because he killed it last week. Yeah, I'll go with that. I mean, I want to say Travis Kelce like every single week, but let's go something different. Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram is correct. I think it's impossible for me to ask a tight end question that isn't a trick question this week. All of them are trick questions.
Yeah,
like
Kelce was like 40 yards and a fumble, right?
Yeah, it
he
was
did
not
too much.
good.
Atrocious
Yeah,
game.
it wasn't great. I didn't really watch it. I just almost figured like it was Kelce. And like tight ends are so bad. I've been rolling with Pitts like almost until now still. And I'm like top in my league because like who cares about tight ends? Like give me the 0. I don't even care.
Right.
Like whatever.
If you get 3 points, it's like a top 10 week for a tight
Yeah,
end.
pretty much. Yeah. Boston Royals
Tommy,
killing it.
which letter would you like? Get this letter right as a reminder, and you will bank all of this money whether you solve the puzzle or not. So some pressure on this decision. Which letter would you like?
Let's go with my last name. Let's go with an M.
An M. There are no M's in this puzzle. I am so sorry, Tommy. So at the final buzzer, a bonk, which means we are back to Jay. Jay, would you like a question? Would you like to solve, or would you like to buy some vowels?
Let's get crazy. Let's buy. Well, can I buy?
You can buy a. Yeah, you can buy a vowel.
All right, let's buy an I.
An I. There are 2 I's in this puzzle. Going to subtract 200 from your score. Now you can't buy any more vowels.
I don't think buying vowels is the getting crazy part of this game.
Jay, would you like another question?
It's kind of like the responsible adult part of this game.
Here we go, Jay. Here is your question, you responsible adult. Who had more week 13 PPR fantasy points? Who had more week 13 PPR fantasy points? Was it Trent Sherfield or was it Devonta Smith?
I don't like you for this question.
Yeah, what kind of question is this?
I'm gonna go
like
with Trent Sherfield.
I'm sorry, it was Devonta Smith,
you got me.
the number 11 PPR wide receiver on the week. I'm throwing one too many tricks in there. I had to throw a reverse trick in there.
Yeah,
which means
a good
Scott.
He
Yeah,
did.
and Trent Sherfield, the reason I brought up, he was the number 25 PPR wide receiver on the
I
week.
remember
Just like
that
we thought.
first touchdown. I mean, the first play of the game, right? Wasn't it that he had a long touchdown?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Scott, that means we are on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle? Or you can buy vowels as well. You got the money.
Question, please.
Okay. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Alec Pierce or was it Nico Collins?
I know Collins had like 2 catches on a bunch of targets, so I'm going to go with Pierce.
Pierce is correct. The number 14 PPR wide receiver on the week. Which letter would you like, Scott?
Let's go with D.
A D. There are no D's in this puzzle, which means we are moving on to Tommy. Tommy, would you like a question? Or would you like to buy vowels?
I'll
Would you
do
like
a
to solve?
vowel. Yeah, can I
Okay.
do a vowel? Can I get an A?
Yes, you responsible adult. There are 3 A's in this puzzle. Going to subtract 300
Okay.
from your score.
Okay.
So now you can choose to buy another vowel. You can choose to solve this puzzle, or you can take another question.
I know it now.
Well, I like the last part, right? But if you know the whole thing.
What's it going to be, Tommy?
I'll do a question.
Okay, another question. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it David Montgomery or was it Tony Pollard?
Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard's absolutely correct. Which letter would you like, Tommy?
I'll take an N.
An N. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 N's in this puzzle, Tommy. Going to add $2,000 to your round bank. Again, the options remain the same to you going into your second question. You can solve, you can buy a vowel, or you can take your next question.
I know everything but the first word. God dang it. I'll take another. I'll do another question.
Okay, another question. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 13? Was it Damian Pierce or was it Dalvin Cook?
Oh gosh. Is it Dalvin Cook?
It was Dalvin Cook. Nice job, my friend. Which letter would you like?
All in the first half.
Oh shoot! I thought I knew what the second word was, and now I'm realizing I don't. Damn.
I did that with the first word, so don't feel bad.
I'll do a G.
A G. Well, there's 1 G in this puzzle. Tommy, that's going to add 500. This is
buy myself time, honestly, at that point.
This is your last opportunity to buy vowels if you would like to do so. Otherwise, we can roll into your last question where you can solve.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
say it
I like to
exactly as it
solve.
appears up there.
Baking scones with Aaron Jones.
It is baking scones with Aaron Jones. I see Scott's got it written down up there as well. But Tommy, you are going to bank that money and go out to a pretty big lead here with $4,200. And shout out to the chat. I can't scroll back.
They were like an hour ago.
They were working together on this one. They were going with it. Mr. Scambers came in with Aaron Jones. Dave said eating scones. Then they went back and forth.
That's
having
what
scones,
I was convinced
eating
it was.
scones.
Yeah.
And then I realized that there's the T was already on the board. I'm like, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah, right. And I had like skipping stones, and I was like, oh wait,
that would've
there's
been a
not
good
enough
one.
letters.
I
in
like
the
that
front.
better, honestly. Simon, you blew it.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of scone.
By the way, this sounds like it would be pleasant.
Right?
Oh yeah,
Sounds
I'd have
like
a
it
good
would
time.
be good fun. Yeah.
I wish
Both have to wear the sombreros though that he likes to wear. Like that's
Yeah.
like given.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's all it takes.
That's the
That's
best part, to be
prerequisite.
honest.
Sure.
Yeah, me and Scott are there.
Yeah.
the hat's where I draw the line. I want a big
Like
scones
scones.
with Aaron Jones, but you know me, I'm not a big hat
Simon,
guy.
what about a big hat?
Yes, I looked up. Have you looked up big hats?
Yeah,
How much to buy?
$80 and like $50 for customization or
Yeah,
something like that.
it might be worth it though. I might be getting
Yeah.
one for Christmas. Like that's going on the Christmas list.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
I need an
ridiculous.
undroppables big hat. Like I should be
It's
on
gonna
the show
take up
right
the whole
now.
screen.
It's worth it.
Exactly. That's the point.
Also, Dave in here was coming in and saying, shout out Tommy on being an OG Jacobs advocate. Tommy,
Tried to tell y'all.
I'm with you. He was my most drafted player the entire offseason. I
Yes.
couldn't stop drafting
Tommy.
him.
Good call,
I'm
Simon.
a Seahawks fan. I got to watch Josh Jacobs up close and personal last week for sure.
You were there. That
Dude was a monster. I mean, the Seahawks defense is good, but
He's
that
balling.
was just incredible.
Yeah, he's playing well. They just need to give him the ball, and now he's getting the targets. And that's the only thing that I was looking at was like the concern with his with him finishing as RB1 is just the targets. And now he's getting it. But it's like, not saying Derek Carr is Tom Brady, but it's like Tom Brady where he has to build up that rapport with his running backs, and now he has it. He trusts Josh Jacobs, and we're seeing it. So it's great.
It's
Well, and
been
I think more people thought Zamir White was going to be more involved. You know what I mean? He just hasn't at all. Like,
Because he's not that great. Like we evaluated him as a prospect, and he didn't score well for me on tape. And granted, Damian Pierce didn't score well for me either, so we're not getting everything right. But Zamir White, he's good. It's just it wasn't going to be this year. You know, all signs point to next year and the year after. Great dynasty asset, not great for redraft.
I'm right there with you. Guys, we're going to move on to our next puzzle here. Before we do that, Scott, I want to ask you, which category would you prefer? Would you prefer third round NFL draft picks, horrible team names, or TV show player mashup?
Mashups.
Okay, we're going to move to the TV show player mashup next then. This is a TV show player matchup. It could be something like Tim, Patrick, and Morty is one we've done in the past, or similar to our movie ones, Boston Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's going to be a player name and a TV show mashed together in a way that's probably going to make somebody upset, because it always does. No one's
Probably
ever.
me.
Everyone got really mad at me for my Detective Pika Chuba Hubbard last week.
I like that one. I
They
like
were
that.
people were not happy with that, but I thought it
Well,
was
I
some of
think-
my best work.
Simon, I feel like early on, the words weren't combined. Like the transition wasn't all in the same word. And then that has changed, and it makes it a lot more difficult.
We're running out of movies, Scott.
You guys need to outsource some of these ideas. You've got my DMs are open.
100%. I know Dustin has hit me up with a bunch of good puzzles over the course of the past season.
Shoot them to us. We absolutely take submissions.
Okay.
Here we go. Tommy solved that one, which means, Jay, you're going to get to go first on this puzzle. Do you want a question or do you want to solve?
I want to solve. Not
Okay.
really. Let's go with a question.
Okay, we're going to move on over to some rushing yard stats. Jay, what I want to know is who has more rushing yards so far on the season? So more rushing yards on the season. Is it Justin Fields or is it Ramondre Stevenson?
Gonna go Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is absolutely correct with 905 to Ramondre 734. Which letter would you like, Jay?
Insane.
Simon, give me the D.
You got it, but there ain't no D to give.
Yikes.
When he asked for it and it still isn't available.
Yeah, story of my life. Story of my life.
Scott, that means we're up to you. Jay did not get the D, which means it's your turn. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this?
Question.
Okay. My question for you is, who has more rushing yards so far on the season? Who has more rushing yards so far on the season? Is it Saquon Barkley or is it Dameon Pierce?
Barkley.
It is Barkley, number 4 on the season so far. Which letter would you like?
S.
An S. There are no S's in this puzzle.
Just killing it.
I promise this puzzle is doable. I did one really bad puzzle one time, and so now there are plenty of letters to get.
I got the W and the T because I knew it was with in the first one. I haven't gotten anything since.
Which means, Tommy, it is your turn. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this?
It would be so badass if I could solve it, but please give me the question. I have no idea though. I have zero.
Living in fortune infamy is our friend Thad Houston, who on an NFL headline, it filled every box on this puzzle board, and he pulled a no-letter solve on an NFL headline. It was just unbelievable. Tommy, here's your question. Who has more rushing yards so far on the season? Who has more rushing yards so far on the season? Is it Jeff Wilson Jr., or is it Tony Pollard?
Oh, I'm going to go Jeff Wilson.
I am sorry. It is Tony Pollard with 852 to Jeff Wilson 680, which means, Jay, we're back to you. And your opponents didn't help you out too much by putting any letters on there.
That was on purpose, Jay.
I figured that. Well, that's
good
why
strategy.
I missed that first because I knew it would come back to me.
Yeah, I like
so maybe I'll just miss again. So let's see what happens.
Well, Jay, we're going to stick around with some rushing yards questions for at least one or two more here. What I want to know is who has more rushing yards so far on the season? Is it David Montgomery or is it Travis Etienne?
Let's go with Travis Etienne.
Travis Etienne is correct with 782 to Monty 641. Which letter would you like, Jay?
Give me R.
An R. There is one R in this puzzle. Going to add 500 to your round bank. Would you like another question?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the next question. Who has more receiving yards so far on the season, Jay? Who has more receiving yards? Is it Travis Kelce or is it Amari Cooper?
Let's go with Kelce.
Kelsey's absolutely correct. Which letter would you like, Jay?
Let's go with M for Mancy.
There's one M in this puzzle. Going to add 500 to your round score. Jay, last opportunity to buy vowels this turn, or you can just take your last question.
Let's buy an E.
An E. There is one E in this puzzle. Going to subtract 100. Would you like to buy another vowel, or would you like
Let's buy an A.
an A? There are 3 A's in this puzzle. Unlocking it a little bit there, Jay. What would you like to do now? Would you like to solve? Would you like another question, or would you like to buy another vowel?
Let's go ahead and I'll take another question.
Another question. Okay, who has more receiving yards so far on the season? Who has more receiving yards? Is it Garrett Wilson or is it Alan Lazard?
Let's go Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson's correct by about 170 yards. Which letter would you like, Jay?
Let's go with an L.
An L. There are 2 L's in this puzzle. Jay, that was your third and final question. So you've got 5 seconds to solve, or we're moving on to Scott.
Go ahead and move on. I've got no earthly idea.
Okay, Scott, we're on to you. Would you like to solve this puzzle, or would you like a question?
Oh man, I feel like if I was in the chat, I would know it. I'm gonna take a question because I need money.
Okay, here's your question. Who has more rushing yards so far on the season? Who has more rushing yards so far on the season? Is it Jamal Williams or is it Cordero Patterson?
Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams is absolutely correct by about 200 yards. Which letter would you like, Scott?
I just don't know what this is.
Do you have it, Tommy? No pressure, Scott.
Is that Jay?
There is one J in this puzzle, adding
See,
500 to your score. Would you like to buy a vowel? Would you like another question, or would you like to solve?
Let's do a question.
Okay, here's your next question. Who has more receiving yards so far in 2022?
Oh, shoot, I got it. Okay.
You got to get the question now, Scott. If you get the question and the letter, then you
I had to get to the player that spelled it with one A, and I got to him.
There it is.
Here is your question. Who has more receiving yards so far on the season? Is it Terry McLaurin or is it Brandon Ayuk?
McLaurin.
McLaurin is absolutely correct. Which letter would you like, Scott?
G.
G. There are 2 G's. Going to add 1,000 more, and you've got 5 seconds to solve.
Jamal Agnew girl.
It is Jamal Agnew girl was the answer to that puzzle, Scott. That's going to add 1,500 to your score here.
Hold on. You didn't give me my monies. I got the monies for getting 3 in a row.
You're right. How much did you have, Jay?
It's either 15 or 1,600. I don't remember.
15.
Was it 1,500?
Sure.
There we go.
Sure.
It's going to put you up there.
Go with that.
We had some answers in the chat. Albert getting this one with Jamal Agnew, and then Scampers coming in first. Jamal Agnew girl, and Ladarius as well at the same exact time. Jamal Agnew girl. Nice job.
Even though I knew it was spelled wrong, I could not get Jamal Williams out of my head. I was just sitting there, Jamal Williams. Like, that doesn't fit.
I love when you think of it after you ask for a question. It's like,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Lamar at first. I was like, what is
So did I.
What else could it be?
That's why I went with the L, because I wasn't sure if it was Lamar or Jamal.
And then it put it there,
Right,
and I was like, oh, shit, what is this?
And I'm not used to Jamal being spelled that way.
well, me neither. That was it.
I'm used to the other spellings of Jamal. I checked this one like 5 times because every time I looked at it, it looked incorrect.
Yeah, right.
But that is, in fact, how Jamal Agnew spells his score. Also, Dave saying, I saw Jay have 5 million, if I remember correctly.
I think Dave is correct.
Well, we're gonna stick with 1,500 for now, and then we'll check the tape afterwards.
That's fair.
Let's move on to our next puzzle. We got time for one more here. And let's go ahead and do this one. Number 7, an NFL headline is our last puzzle. NFL headline is the last puzzle. Tommy, you've got the first question here. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
I'll take a question, please.
Okay, here is your question. Who has more receiving yards so far on the season? Who has more receiving yards? Is it Chris Olave or is it Cortland Sutton?
Olave.
It is Olave. Which letter would you like?
I'll take a T.
T. There are 3 T's in this puzzle.
That's not where I thought the T was going to be.
It's adding 1,500 to your score. And maybe now you can identify what goes where you thought the T went. Would you like another question or would you like to buy a vowel or would you like to solve?
I'll do another question.
Another question. Who has more receiving yards on the season so far? Who has more receiving yards on the season so far? Is it Pat Freiermuth or is it Michael Pittman Jr.?
Pittman.
It is Pittman. Which letter would you like, Tommy?
I'll do an R.
An R. There are 1,
R.
2, 3, 4, 5 R's in this puzzle. Going to add 2,500 to your round bank. Yeah, you solved it. Tommy, would you like to buy a vowel? Would you like another question, or do you want to solve this puzzle? Again,
I'll take a vowel. Could I do an A, please?
Absolutely. There are 3 A's in this puzzle. Going to subtract 300. You can choose to buy another vowel if you would like to do so, or we can continue on.
I'll do my last question.
Okay. One more question. Get this right and get the letter. You are going to bank all of that money. Who has more passing yards so far in 2022? Who has more passing yards so far in 2022? Is it Joe Burrow or is it Aaron Rodgers?
Burrow.
Burrow is correct. Which letter would you like, Tommy?
I'll do an S.
An S. There are 2 S's. Going to add 1,000. You're going to bank all this money, and you've got 5 seconds to try to solve this.
Is there a penalty if I say the?
You just give information to the next guy if you
like,
say it wrong.
Haters gotta hate, but that's not even close. Like
that was the headline last week. We have a new headline this week.
It's true, but it's not.
Haters something first.
Tommy, I'm sorry. Shades on, haters out is not the correct answer. Jay, you are up. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle?
I don't think I'm catching up to Tommy, but I know what it is, so I think I'm going to go ahead and solve and just take the money.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
Panthers cut former first pick Baker Mayfield.
It is Panthers cut former first pick Baker Mayfield. And we should be finding out.
That was it.
In the next 10 or so minutes where Baker Mayfield is going to end up, where he's going to be claimed off of waivers. Jay, that added $1,000 to your score for solving that puzzle, bringing you up to $3,000.
Nice job,
Tommy, I think you are going to be the winner of today's game with a score of 8,900. Jay at 3,000, Scott at 1,500.
Wasn't even worth trying to catch up because Tommy just blew us out. Well done.
I'm just glad to be here.
This is the best I've done on the show, so I'm excited. The last 2 were terrible. So
you were on for that. Were you on for the hat brackets the first time? I think
it was hats last time, and then me and Joe Pisapia did. I forgot. Oh, it was one of the other games.
Oh, say hi to my puppy.
Well, you win because you got the pooch in the screen. So
yeah, what's up, dog?
The hat bracket was one for the books.
That was epic. We got to do brackets this all season again and bring.
That was a good one. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that one.
We got to do another hat bracket because we didn't even get all the good hats on there. There was so many hats that we left off that we've got to get back in there. Oh, and now Scott trying to steal the W with your dog on the screen too. Man, now I'm feeling left out.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, my lazy dog is downstairs.
Come here, Poochie.
What are the pooch's names?
This is Indy Bane.
What's up, Indy Bane?
Yeah, short for Indica, and because Batman came out that year.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
This is Doug, short for Douglas Taco.
What up, Douglas Taco?
Right, everybody.
Hey, Doug.
Oh, don't hit the microphone, Indy.
What good
rookie
voice.
Rookie mistake. But still
Dave in here saying domination by
Domination.
Tommy. Domination.
Domination.
It was Domination. And Mr.
You have
Scammers
to change your Twitter handle now to Domination. So.
There it is.
Mr. Scammers, a great game, Tommy, and a fantastic show, you guys. And Joseph saying the dogs did the trick because he came in here to cheer up after losing by 0.46. Had Kamara versus Taysom Hill in Monday Night Football. Lost the 2 seed and the first round bye. Fantasy football's a bitch, ain't it?
Monday Night Football can be so glorious or so painful. It's just
Joseph, I had something similar 2 weeks ago. I started Paris Campbell over Christian Watson, and that cost me the matchup, which cost me the first seed, which cost me the first round bye, and also $150. So
wow.
I have an outside shot of still pulling it off this week, but I would be in the driver's seat. if not
We'll
for
see.
that call. So
Yeah, and I almost had the same thing by starting Kenny Walker over Garrett Wilson, and I was like, I know Garrett Wilson's going to go off, but how do you not start
right,
Kenny?
you
And-
made the right call. I would have started him 10 times out of 10.
I will
But-
say I started both Lamar Jackson and Ken Walker in Scott Fishbowl.
Oh.
But I
Not great,
started
Bob.
two kickers that scored over 15 points. I moved on, but now I've got
Yeah, now what?
Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields are my quarterbacks.
Just start all kickers.
So what do I do? What do I do, guys?
All kickers.
Just kickers. Yeah.
I'm
throw a
going to be
kicker in
like
that super
going
flex
after
spot.
Brock Purdy on waivers because I don't
Yeah.
have a QB to start.
Yeah.
So JL in here saying, weird. I named my dog Dank. I think our dogs would get along, Tommy.
Hell yeah, JL.
Guys, before we go, I did just mention the Baker Mayfield waivers should clear at 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is coming up in 2 minutes. So I want to get some predictions. Last thing before we hop off the show. Tommy, where does Baker end up, if anywhere?
That's a good question. Yeah, if anywhere. I mean, when I was at the gym this morning, they just kept talking about it all morning. I'd love to see him go to like the Rams or something, but I don't know how. I think Houston makes kind of sense. I don't know. I think whoever is available right now for him to go to is just not a great situation for Baker. So I hope he gets another job, but I don't think wherever he goes is like going to be good for fantasy.
I'm hoping for some reason all of those teams pass on him and he can just go to the 49ers because that makes sense. He needs a good O-line. He could perform well there, but I doubt he makes it all the way down to the 49ers on that waiver priority list. Scott, what do you think? Where's Baker ending up?
Oh, I don't know.
Grimfin
really
said the
don't-
Browns.
I hope so.
Their current quarterback didn't have a very good game. Yeah, I mean, 49ers make the most sense, obviously, but they are far down on that list, and as we all know, you can sit there and hope that somebody falls to you on waivers, but they might not. But maybe they're not hoping that Baker Mayfield falls to them on waivers. I don't know.
That's was going to be my pick. I was going to say the
Colts
Colts.
is a good call. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He very well could make it to the 49ers.
Yeah.
I
JJ
don't know if anybody's
Zacharyson,
going to grab him. Like,
right before this on the Q&A show over on the FanDuel channel said, I hope the Colts claim him. They cut Nick Foles. The 49ers sign Nick Foles, and Nick Foles wins his second Super Bowl as the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. And now that is the narrative I am cheering for more than anything else the rest of this season is to get another quarterback.
I would watch that. I would watch that movie.
Yep.
Guys, that is gonna be it for us today. I wanted to give a huge thanks to our guests Scott and Tommy for coming on. Guys, if you're not already following them, go and fix that right now. You can find Tommy on Twitter at 2on1FFB and Scott at MunderDiflinFF. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
It was a blast, man. It's always a blast. You guys are so much fun.
Thank you so much.
I could sit here and answer who scored more PPR points, who has more of these yards for hours. So I love it.
One of my favorite shows to guest on. So thank you again for having me.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to come on. That is going to be it for us today. If you want to hang out with us some more tomorrow morning, we will be live. Myself, JL, and our friend Andrew Cooper are live over on the Front Yard Fantasy channel right here or on the Better Sports Network app for the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show. So come hang out with us bright and early, unless you're on the West Coast, then for the love of God, sleep. Until then, though, we are out of here. Adios, everyone. Until tomorrow morning, we will see you later.